Coming to work then?
I'm raising money for a good cause.
What?
Kids with leukemia.
Oh, bloody hell. Alright, I'll give you a tenner.
My target is 5,000.
But, bloody hell, I hope you've got enough mates. Oh no, you haven't. Billy, no mates, haven't you? Look, I'll give you 30 quid and that is all you are getting, alright?
Chris.
And do you reckon there might be some possibility of you actually getting some work done today?
Well, I'm here, alright.
Right, you know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Right, they want this finishing off before they come through here and level the floor off.
Well, they should have done it properly in the first place.
I know, it's nothing to do with us, but they need it finishing soon.
What else, sir?
Like yesterday.
It will take a couple of days.
It can't take a couple of days. It needs to be done today. I've already had words at the DAB about our stuff, holding up some of the other contractors.
Well, bollocks to the contractors.
Oh, that's very team-spirited, obviously.
Well, I'm not holding up anyone deliberately, am I? They want a decent job.
I know, and I'm just getting grief because we're behind.
Well, that's because we were held up after that flood.
Mate, what can I do?
Yeah, well, you could talk to the DAB about it, tell them it's not our fault.
It doesn't work like that. The gaffer doesn't stand up and say, why don't we all have a bit of a bitching contest? Who wants to go first?
Well, look, I've been working all hours.
I know, mate, but what can I do? Look, you've earned a few more bob towards your next holiday, haven't you?
What holiday? The missus wants a smart car.
She could do with a smart husband.
I'll give over.
Look, what do you need, then?
Well, a mute.
Mate, a mute, if you can find one.
Well, I shouldn't be expected to go scavenging for kit.
All right, then. Well, I'll leave it to you, then.
Well, they're all going on the house working at height.
Mate, we are not working at height. Yeah? Have a look up there. The basket in what? All of 8 foot up? I'm hardly asking you to climb bloody Everest, am I?
Oh, so you're happy if I use a step ladder?
I'll be happy if you do it on your bloody tiptoes, as long as you get it done.
One of those safety blokes comes round.
What about?
Well, they don't like us using step ladder.
Oh, step ladder's all right. You are trained in using a step ladder, and you just don't stand at the top. That's all you're going to get a bollocking for.
Yeah, well, they're like bloody little hitlers, some of them.
They're doing a safety team.
Yeah.
And they're all right. They're just doing their job, that's all.
Oh, what, giving me grief?
Yes, if you're doing something stupid, yes.
Well, I know what I'm doing.
Good. So you can manage it then?
What, getting all this installed today?
Pretty please.
Oh, fuck off, Steve.
I know I can count on you. Right, come up and see me on level 3 when you're done. We need to make a start up there.
Okay.
Fucking hell. Right, there we go. What we just saw there? What was going on?
Pressure.
Pressure.
Program.
Is that normal?
Yeah.
Why?
Depends.
Where does it come
Yeah.
from? Why?
Money.
But pressure directly from where? Management. Right. What else was going on?
Trust.
The trust.
He trusted his supervisor to give him a job to do
Yeah.
in that day's worth of work.
But the supervisor wanted him to do that in the day. What did the guy say to him?
He couldn't do it.
Can't do it.
Well, he suggested he couldn't do it, but his supervisor said he could. So he trusted his supervisor to do it.
So what? Is there an issue there?
He's been told to do something by his supervisor, which, if he didn't do, he feels that he's probably going to be jogged down the road if he didn't do it. Do you know what I mean? Like he's been given a sentence to...
So that comes back to the pressures
Yeah.
from. So what you're saying, he feels the pressure from his supervisor, Chris,
Yeah.
to get that job done.
And with the sponsor as well, obviously.
Did it look like Chris had any pressure on him? Everyone could join in.
Yes,
Yeah.
because they're behind.
Program.
And is that you? Yeah. What causes that? Where would the pressures come for Chris? Where would they come from? Contract. What did he mention about other contractors? Say again, will you? Yeah. So the daily briefing, they're behind. What did he say about the floor?
Uneven.
It's uneven. What's going to happen? It'll be re-leveled. What does that cause?
Knock-on effect.
Which adds to more pressures. Their relationship seems very matey. Is that a good thing?
No.
Why not?
That's cause more pressure and we might not do something safe.
But I mean, do you work with a team?
Yes.
And are you mates?
Yes.
So, was there anything wrong with what was going on up there?
Well, when you don't have a relationship with workers, that's cause more pressure on the person and they're not going to do the job you're asking them to do it.
Yeah. But why would they do that?
Because
Because you don't treat them well.
they think they are friends.
Because they think they're mates.
But sure, I mean, I've worked on sites before as well. I've worked with teams, you know, and we all get on. There's always the banter in it on sites. Can you have that as well as be somebody's supervisor?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, it should be.
But what was said was, if you're too friendly,
Yeah, but they tell to his supervisor, fuck off. This is not. Yeah, the outside of the world where our police work. They can't say fuck off with his supervisor.
what you mentioned earlier about Steve saying, you know, he's going to take a couple of days to get those cable baskets off. But then his supervisor Chris says that they've got to be done today. What's the problem with that?
Breaking the rules.
Breaking the rules. It's what, sorry?
Breaking the rules.
Give him an incentive.
But also as well, given the circumstance, it's probably an accident like it's happened, one in whatever you want to give it.
It's $1 million.
Maybe, yeah. Depends. It's like the lottery.
Yeah. Is it worth playing that lottery?
There's a difficult balance there. Because on the one hand, you want to be...
How long is this question going to be?
Sorry.
I thought you asked the question. There's a difficult balance there because on the one hand you need to engage, and it's different to 20 years ago. You have to engage with people. But sometimes, and I think of a Saturday morning, a friend of mine, and somebody became friends, a contractor, leader of men. Everyone was seemingly still enjoying the effects of a Friday night. You pull them on one side and say, it's a little bit out of order, the way your guys are behaving. Yeah, sorry, before you could even finish the sentence, yeah, sorry. But the question is that period of time before you saw it and had the word, what could have happened in between then? And that's the reality. That's the reality of managing people.
Let's move on to the story. So we're going to follow the story of Chris. So guys, just make sure you can watch up here again, and just watch what happens.
Fucking hell, mate. Fuck! Don't move. Fucking hell. Anyone a first aider? Oh, fuck. Is anyone a first aider? Yeah. What do? I don't know what to do. My mate, he's saying fuck a lot. I don't. He's hurt himself. He's hurt his neck or his back or his head or something. I don't know what to do. What do I do?
Call an ambulance.
Call an ambulance. What's the number?
9. 9.
Well, it could have been 111 smart ass, couldn't it? Hello? Ambulance? Yeah, no, ambulance. No, where are we? What's this place? Quadrant 6. Manchester Road. We're near a Sainsbury's. Oh shit. No, not you. I'm not saying shit to you. Yeah, well, he's had a fall. My name, Chris Hunter. Yeah. It's one of the lads, he's had a fall. Look, you need to get an ambulance. He's stopped making noise. You need to get him here quick. Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, alright, great, cheers, bye. Right, job done. I don't need to do anything else now, do I? What?
See if there's any.
I need to do what?
Look after your geezer, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I've got him. Alright, I've got him here, but what do I need to do?
Check if there's any hazards for you.
Well, I'm safe at the moment, I think. There's no hazards, I'm safe here. What else do I need to do?
Notify people.
Huh?
Notify.
Notify people. How do I do that?
Scream, shout, do what the
Help!
That's it.
Help! I need some help down in the basement!
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay? There's an intercom system which I could use as well.
Yeah, use that.
Alright? Okay, I need some help down in the basement. Tell the intercom section. What else can I do? They said make him comfortable. Do I move him?
No.
Why can't I move him? He might what?
He's screaming.
But he's in pain, but he's lying.
He's breathing.
He's breathing, he's alright, but he's lying on the cabling. It looks uncomfortable.
Don't fucking touch it.
It's alright, I'm not allowed to fucking touch her. What else is there I can do? Is there anything I can do? Can I give him painkillers? Can I give him... Make it more visible so it was safe. So make this more visible? Make it more visible so it was safe situation. Alright mate, we can't do that. Anything else that I can do? Anything else? Final tips.
Panic.
Don't panic. Mr. Mannery. Alright.
Turn the power off.
Right. How did he do?
Shit.
I'm still here.
What do you think he did then?
Panic.
What's wrong with that?
His mate's on.
He never knew the process either, did he? Shit to go through, what process to go through. He so panicked. So he hadn't been told what to say. Panicked.
Right.
There's a difference between you.
During the war.
Right, there's a difference.
You would accept panic from if it was your child or your somebody's
Well, we know that's his mate. If that's your close mate on the floor, he's just fell off the step ladder. He's lying across the basket casing. You don't know if it's impaled in his back. Is it panicking and that sort of thing?
It is, but it seems to have left. He was trying to do it.
It seems that he didn't really seem to know what to do.
It seems like they're not trying to be aware of what he should be doing.
Right.
Process.
Right. How do you think you guys did in giving him that advice?
I think we'll be like that.
You think you'd all be like that?
Well, not so.
That's very
I
honest.
think lots of people would make a panic.
If they take shock,
Shock, yeah, if you're taking a take, I think
Yeah, you could be in shock and things aren't going to come straight to you. Yeah. How do you think you guys did giving him the advice? Brilliantly. Do you reckon there was anything you missed?
I don't know, you tell us.
Well, I'm not the expert in first aid. Shane, anything that they missed?
No, not at all. Make sure it was safe before he went in there. Raise the alarm, shout for help on a local basis, and don't touch him, don't move him. He's breathing, he's making a lot of noise, he's alright, he's not bleeding from the eyes.
We didn't carry on speaking to him. We didn't carry on speaking to him, no, did we? Reassure him. About what? How he is. How he is personally. Well, we don't know anything else. We just left him alone, didn't we? Well, we stopped. Surely we should have been carried on communicating with him.
I think that's a good call. What we'll do is we'll assume that he did do that. Well, he did. We stopped him. So, moving on in Chris's story, we're now going to see what happened next. So, again, let's just watch what happens.
Well, come on, sweetheart, you can get over it in 5 minutes. Well, look, you know Steve and Karen as well. It might be easier. Well, it might be easier for Karen if you were here. No, it would be easier for me. Well, it would be, but that's beside the point. Well, look, what about your mum? Can't you get her to babysit? God knows she's there often enough when we don't want her to, yeah? Well, it's only going to be for an hour, isn't it? Oh, come on, Splits. Oh, bloody typical. Well, can't you bring the kids with you? No, all right, no, fair enough. No. Oh, sweetheart, I'm going to have to go. Listen, I've got to go. All right, bye.
Chris, what are you doing here?
Hello, Karen.
Where's Steve? Is he not with you? What's wrong? Has something happened to Steve?
There's been a bit of an accident, like.
Steve's hurt? Well, what's happened? Tell me!
There was a bit of a fall.
Well, where is he? Is he alright?
Look, why don't we go inside? The neighbours, you know, start to...
Tell me he's okay!
Alright, he's at the hospital. Hold on, he's alright, he's still alive. Bloody hell, Courage, just calm down, eh, you know? Look, why don't we just go inside? Oh, for God's sake! It's Pete, he's at the hospital. Pete, how is he?
What? I need to see him.
Yeah, hold on a second. No, not you. I'm with Karen, Steve's wife. Right? Right? Right. Right, mate. Yeah, no, we'll get there as soon as we can.
What did he say? Is Steve alright?
Well, the thing is, I think it's too early to tell.
What?
Well, I think, you know, it's amazing what they can do nowadays, isn't it?
Tell me!
They think he might be paralysed, Karen.
Oh my God!
Look, wait. Karen, please, look, just stop and have a cup of tea or something, you know? Look, Karen, wait! Oh, for fuck's sake!
How did that go?
Oh, well, pretty poor.
How was it? Has anybody here actually do that before? Deliver bad news like that? Yeah?
Yeah.
How did that go?
It wasn't extreme how you put it, but I had to give bad news to an old Irish guy who'd just been taken to hospital after an incident. He's, yeah.
Hey? It must be really difficult to go there. The circumstances as well, I mean, he knew. So, would that make it more difficult? If you knew the person? What we're going to do is we're going to look at that scene again. And this time, we're going to do it with the help of Andre. Just this way.
Andre, come on, Andre. Come on. Take your Peroni with you. You're my hero. Andre, well done. Cable gang.
What I'll do...
Be missing it.
Stand up. I'll go and get Chris. Chris.
Oh,
Andre, he's gonna come along with you because you both know Karen.
Yeah.
So he's gonna help out.
Well, what do you reckon I should say? What's the first thing I should say to him?
Do what Willie said.
Andre, do you ever get the feeling that you've been set up as well? What would you do in a situation like this?
Just go and speak to his wife.
Yeah.
Try and sit her down. To be honest, I wouldn't beat around the bush and get straight to the point.
So okay, no, that sounds so sit her down. No, but that sounds like good advice. So let's try and sit her down because, well, let's face it, she could faint or something. So therefore, so what else should perhaps I say? So don't beat about the bush. Yeah. What do I say? Steve's at the accident. He's at the hospital. Yeah. We need to get. I don't know what else. Let's go and see. All right, okay, all right. Do you want to go first then? Her name's Karen, so let's give it a go. She should be in. Oh, she is. Karen, remember our name, right?
What are you both doing here?
We've got a bit of bad news. Take a seat.
Do you want to have a sit down?
What do you mean you've got bad news? That's sick.
It is, yes, unfortunately. He's an accident at work.
Oh my God!
It's all right.
What's he done?
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right.
Is it alright?
We don't know. We don't. No, it's. What? It's all right. Karen, let's get a seat. Karen, have a sit down. Have a sit down. It's all right.
How bad is it? You're going to be okay?
We don't know at this point. But listen, what we want to do is we want to make sure that you get the proper sort of advice from the professionals, because we're not the professionals. It didn't look that bad, to be honest, but we just need to make sure.
Where is he now?
He's at the hospital.
He's at the hospital.
Can we take your car? Yeah, we'll take Andre's car. Yeah.
The best.
Andre's strong.
How's it all going?
Good.
Yeah? Excellent.
I think under the pressure he's done blind.
Sorry?
Under the pressure he's done really well.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Agree. I don't think the pressure is that much different if you to doing that in real life.
You're
to
right.
getting up
In front of
there.
everyone.
Yeah.
Probably more, I would say.
Yeah. No.
How did you feel?
Your next Dan.
How did you feel when the wife started shouting at you?
Yeah, not good.
You've had that before, haven't you?
He's tension his ankles there.
So really, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, I think, to me, one of the life-changing things that happened to me when I was younger, I had a similar scenario with a guy cut off his fingers. He decided as a joiner, the most important things are joiners are hands. In the old days, you used to have flip saws that you had to put riding knives on and things like that. He didn't have a riding knife on it, but he's only cut some wedges. He stuck the wedge through, held it with a hammer, walked his way around the saw, grabbed the wedge with his fingers, started pulling it through instead of using a push stick. No riding knife, blades turning around at 4,600 revs, hit a knot and basically took his 3 fingers off. The first thing I remember was a young engineer coming into the office with this guy's jumper wrapped around his hand. And he says, "You got a first aid kit, Willie?" I said, "No, let's sit him down and see what the problem is first." Took that, I don't think a plaster's going to work that much. So took him to the hospital, and sure enough I had to go and ring the doorbell of the wife. And she was heavily pregnant, had a 2-year-old in one hand, and she was just starting, she went off and wanted me as if it was all my fault that I cut this guy's fingers off. And I must admit, it is very, very difficult to ring that doorbell and stand there. And the worst of it was, to get her to the hospital, his car was back at the site. She didn't have any more kids' seats, so I had to go and ring neighbours' doorbells and explain to them the scenario. We had car seats, or a car seat for the 2-year-old, so I could get them. I then left her at the hospital while I found his brother, went and picked his brother up, brought him to the site to get his car, so he could then take her home eventually. So it's not just, you know, ringing the doorbell, it's all the entourage of things that comes with ringing the doorbell. It's these things that stick at the back of your mind. It's all about when you put people to work, make sure you look at them to work safely. Because one day you might have to ring that doorbell. As Andre said there, I didn't feel very comfortable. I can assure you I've had to do it 2 or 3 times in my life. It's not a nice place to be in. So.
Thanks for that. I mean, we're all working towards a place where we can avoid this kind of incident. So hopefully none of you guys will have to do this, and if you already have done it, you have to do it again. One of the world's leading occupational safety experts, Sidney Decker, he calls people like Chris second victims. And the second victim is because after that's happened, he will then go through grief, depression, traumatic stress, sometimes even worse. Sidney Decker talks to a surgeon, and he's there in the operating theatre, and his job is to apply 2 drugs. The first one at the start of the operation, which brings on paralysis. It helps the operation. And then the second one is to go against that. So the patient gains feeling again. But the problem was, the surgeon had both syringes together in the same tray. The problem, the syringes are identical, and they were both marked with a yellow marker. Now, we don't know how long he was there, how long the operation took, but by the time he come to give the anti-paralysis drug, he picked up the wrong one, and he gave the patient a larger dose of paralysis. Now, he went away and went through massive depression because of that. Now that's brought on because, you know, it's not him, he didn't want to do that. That was a genuine mistake. It's brought on by pressures. We don't know how long he'd been on his feet. Was he at the end of his shift? Was he at the start of his shift? I mean, we all know, just from hearing it, how long the hours are nurses and surgeons work. I mean, you would know firsthand, Shane. Yeah. So, is it directly his fault? But he went away becoming a victim, the second victim. And actually, he was later murdered by a family member of the patient. So he did definitely become the second victim of that. What we're going to do now is we're going to move further into Chris's story. And we're just going to see a HSE investigation with Chris and an HSE inspector. So, make sure you can see this area and watch what happens.
Mr. Hunter, take a seat. Interview begins 09:10. Present Charlotte Spencer of the Health and Safety Executive and Mr. Chris Hunter, Supervisor at Mortensen Engineering. Mr. Hunter, you've been informed that this is a PACE interview conducted according to the Police and Criminal Evidence Act.
Yes.
And you were informed that you're entitled to legal representation.
Yes.
You have waived this right.
Well, I don't need a lawyer. I'm not guilty of anything.
Mr. Hunter, am I right in thinking you were the supervisor responsible for the safety of your team working at the Quadrant 6 construction site?
Yes, I was the supervisor, yes.
And as such, you were responsible for the health and safety of your team?
Well, there are safety professionals from the principal contractor.
But you were one of many subcontractors on site, and you were the most senior person from your company. Is that correct?
I suppose.
I'll take that as a yes. you take me through the events surrounding the accident?
Well, how far do you want me to go back?
Well, I'm not concerned with what you had for breakfast. Just the lead up to the accident.
Right, well, me and Steve had a chat about the work, and he knew what he had to do.
Which was?
We installed cable basketing down in the basement area.
Okay, you had a chat. What was discussed?
Well, we talked about the fact that we needed to get a rig up. Well, we talked about the urgency of the task.
Who talked about the urgency of the task?
We both did.
But you were setting him to work, so I assume it was you who communicated a sense of urgency.
No, I was only passing on what I'd been told of the day.
At the daily activity briefing?
Yes.
So, would it be fair to say that your colleague Steve felt a great deal of pressure to rush the job?
No, I didn't say that. No one asked him to rush it.
How long had you allocated for the job?
A day?
Not 2 days. I will remind you that this interview is being conducted according to the Police and Criminal Evidence Act.
Originally it was 2 days, but we were trying to claw back a bit of time.
So you asked Mr. Turnbull to do a 2-day job in 1 day.
No, we discussed it and he agreed.
He agreed it was a reasonable timescale.
Yes. Well look, if he wasn't happy, he could have said something.
Do you mean he could have refused to agree to the shorter timescale?
You can always say no if you think something is impossible.
How often do people say no to a job?
He wasn't saying no to a job. That's something entirely different. Steve had a job to do and we were just talking about how long it was going to take him to do it.
This talk you had, would you describe it as a toolbox talk?
Yes. That's exactly how I describe it.
And what is the purpose of a toolbox talk?
Well, you know, talk through the job, iron out any problems.
And negotiate the safest way to proceed?
Obviously, yes.
So, what hazards did you identify?
Well, it was a pretty straightforward job.
There were no hazards?
Not really. Well, look, all right, Steve fell off the ladder, but to be honest, I haven't got a clue how he managed to do it.
He was working at height.
Well, no, this ceiling was pretty low, actually. Yeah, we were down in the basement. I mean, a lot of the other levels are a lot higher.
Did you discuss the need for a mobile elevated working room?
Yes, I said if he wanted one, he was welcome to use it.
You didn't insist that he used one?
No, because he was only working about 8 foot up.
What does the legislation say about working at height?
Well, I mean, I don't remember the exact detail.
What constitutes height?
What do you mean?
At what point would you consider someone to be working at height? 2 feet? 3 feet?
Yeah, all right, I get it. I don't know, once you get up to about 10 foot, I consider that to be a bit of a drop.
I see.
But look, you have to make a judgment call, don't you?
Okay, moving on. Did you know that Mr. Turnbull had decided to use a stepladder?
He said he probably would.
He stated that he would probably use a stepladder. How did you respond?
I ascertained if he knew how to use one properly.
How did you do that?
I told him not to stand on top of it.
I see. Is a stepladder considered an appropriate professional method of working at height?
Oh, come on, stepladder's perfectly safe if you use it properly.
You mean if people don't stand at the top?
Yes, and you pay attention to what you're doing, yes.
Stepladders are banned from some sites.
Not on this site.
Did you suggest to Mr. Turnbull that he retain 3 points of contact on the ladder at all times?
Oh, look, I can't remember it. I can't remember exactly what I said to him.
Just describe to me how he would have fixed the cable basket.
Well, all right, he would have got up the ladder, wouldn't he? He would have had the basket in, he would have offered it up to them. There are many different ways in which he would have been able to do it.
I see.
Look, it was an accident. These things happen. Yeah, no one could have prevented it.
I would have to disagree, Mr. Hunter. A company has a duty of care to protect its employees, And you, as a supervisor, have a legal responsibility to ensure that when you set people to work, you do so ensuring their safety above all other considerations.
Why would I want to hurt Steve? He was a mate of mine.
And regrettably, he is now paralysed. If I may say so, Mr. Hunter, I would have to question what sort of mate would allow such a thing to happen.
That is unfair. I can't be blamed for this. I can't be blamed for it. It was a chance in a million.
Let's take a break, shall we? Interview suspended 09:15.
What's going to happen to me now?
We will continue our investigation, and depending on our findings, you may be prosecuted under the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974.
But, hold on, I didn't tell Steve to do it that way. I mean, he must have overbalanced by himself. He was only a couple of feet up. It was a freak accident.
From everything I've heard, it was entirely preventable.
You can't pin the blame on me. Steve chose to do it that way. I wasn't even there.
I am not prejudging the outcome of this case, but I will say this. Your job title is supervisor. The dictionary definition of supervise is to watch a person or activity and ensure that everything is carried out correctly and safely.
I've got my own bloody work to do. I can't be responsible for watching everyone else all the time.
Then I would question whether you were supervising at all.
Has anybody ever been in that situation? Anybody?
Yes.
Yeah. That's what happens, isn't it? I mean, it can feel sometimes as though a weight of the world is on you. And there are penalties, as you saw in the quiz.
You can get penalties. I mean, following a successful prosecution, the court will decide on a penalty.
And this is a quote that HSE believes that the current general level of fines does not properly reflect the seriousness of health and safety offences. And it is up to the courts to decide on what level of fines that they give. And it's not unusual for prison sentences to be dealt out. And if you're accused, found guilty of manslaughter or culpable homicide, well, you're likely to receive a prison sentence. Now, what I'd like to do now is just run that scene again, but just with the help of John.
John, do us prayer, mate. Do us prayer. John, do us prayer, mate.
How would you like to get one of the mates up there?
If you'd like to take a seat.
A mate employee up there on doing the...
Calm down, Seffi.
Please. Not a problem.
What is your full name?
John Samuel Graham.
John Samuel Graham. Mr. Graham, you are aware that this interview is being recorded and conducted according to the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. I would like you to describe a recent incident to me, I believe you know the one that I'm talking about, in some detail. Off you go.
Say nothing. Ask me a lawyer.
Yeah. Fifth Amendment.
Tell him there's a curtain in the way. I'll tell him
Contractual.
Mr. Graham. In your own time.
The incident that you're talking about, okay, where the man got the ladder.
That's right.
And for example, I hear he paralyzed there. What they call.
And this was a man who was under your supervision?
Not on mine, no.
You are a supervisor. I see. And what do you know about such things?
What I've heard through the grapevine, that Chris, supervisor, who's under his supervision.
As I understand it, you were responsible for training Chris.
Someone give me a hole.
You got a personal trainer like Willie Shaw.
Is that correct? And in your opinion, did Chris receive the full and appropriate training for using ladders in this situation?
Under my supervision, yes.
So what do you believe happened in this instance?
Reading between the lines.
I would like to remind you this interview is being recorded.
Competency.
I'm trying to tell you that I was not supervisor on that site. Okay? What you're telling me is I was a supervisor who supervised Chris at yes?
You were responsible for
Right,
his
I was
training.
right. But then another supervisor was put in charge of this, yes?
I think you'll find I'm asking you.
Yeah, I totally agree. You supervise the supervisor.
The area you're talking about was not what you might control.
I'm simply asking you to reassure me about the level of training and support that you provided to.
As a company, we would send all our officers to preferred training.
Preferred training courses. And what might that include?
Working with players.
On a mobile elevated working platform.
All training, all officers go on training, whatever class they are to do on site.
So in your opinion, an accident like this should happen?
In my personal opinion, no, it should not.
So why do it?
I don't know. Until I was in that area, it wouldn't, put it this way, it would not happen under my supervision.
Good answer.
You're telling me that under no circumstances, under your supervision, would a member of your staff use a step ladder?
No.
Have you ever had any experience in your own working career where you've had an accident on a job you were supervising? No. You seem to be a very lucky man, Mr. Jones.
Well done, mate. Good job. Under my supervision. Shut up, Peter.
John, how did that feel?
And the next up is Craig Lennon.
It was mentioned there working at height. So what's working at height? How high is working at height? 2 foot?
No, any. If you're going to use it, harm yourself. Any height. What's that, Pete? What'd you say, Pete?
It's actually, if he says it around level. Yeah. If you can fall over doing the job, then it's working at height.
Staying on the table is working at height.
That's actually us finished. And all I've got left to do is just thank you very much for getting involved, because that's what we need to help our stuff go along, is for you guys to get involved. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you, mate.